Hey guys, it's Melissa with Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. Today I thought I would talk to you about how when you are growing through a situation, it can feel very uncomfortable. I was talking to a friend the other day and he was talking about how he just hadn't been feeling himself lately. And that led to a big discussion about how we were going through Mercury retrograde again. And then that brings up, because Mercury is the planet that's associated with communication, that can bring up a lot of issues with communication with other people. So we kind of have to be careful this month that our words aren't harsh. And I don't want to put a story out there that bad things are going to happen to you. I don't believe that at all. But I believe that there are probably things that are going to come up for you that are lessons that we have to learn, because that just is what tends to happen. It's a way for us to heal our past so that we can move forward and be even better than we were. And so I think that a lot of these retrogrades end up bringing up things from the past that we haven't yet healed and that we maybe need to look at, that we've kind of pushed under the rug. And it's kind of the universe's way of saying, hey, you know what, you got to deal with this. Even if it's uncomfortable, you need to deal with it so you can let it go. And I know that I have a tendency, and I definitely in the past did, I try to be better about it, but I can have a tendency sometimes to just pretend like my life's great and there's nothing going on that's bad and everything's wonderful. You know, you put on that facade because we don't want others to see our lives, to see the pain that we carry. And aside from that, oftentimes we don't want to feel that pain that we sometimes carry, that we just push down, and we don't want to think about it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. But the last few weeks, I keep pulling cards for myself, because I pull daily cards for myself, just as little messages and positivity to get me through the week. And one of the things that I pulled was and I think I might have even gotten this card for you guys one time, that was allow yourselves to feel the feelings that triggers cause. And it was something to that effect. And that was a message for me, because there are things that have happened in my life. I know I've spent a lot of time healing myself, healing the past, getting over things. But there are certain situations, certain triggers that when they come up, it's like I just feel a sharp pain. And it's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to feel that. No, don't want to feel that. That's uncomfortable. But I know that it's something I have to deal with. And you can't move past something if you don't deal with it. You're going to push it down, but it's still going to come out eventually. And I talk about in my book that I'm so excited, I'm getting ready to try to shop around to some different publishers, and I have a friend who is editing it now, and he's amazing and so great for doing that for me, and I can't wait. I cannot wait for this to come out. But in one of my chapters, I talk about this. When you just push down your emotions, they're still there. They don't go anywhere. Our brain has a mechanism that tries to help us forget things that happen to us so that we don't have to feel that pain. But the problem is, it's still there. It's still there deep down. And so what happens is you go out drinking with your friends, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden there's a trigger, and all that stuff comes flooding out, and then you ugly cry in the crowd of people in the middle of wherever you are because you've that trigger that brought it out. That's happened to me before. It's embarrassing when that happens too. So you don't want that to happen to you. You don't want to be in a situation where you've pushed down those feelings so much, and then you know how it is. You go out for drinks, and then a song comes on, a song that triggers that emotion, that feeling. If it was a breakup with somebody, you're like, oh, that's our song. And then everything comes flooding back, and you lose it. You lose it, and you look like a crazy person because you're ugly crying in the middle of a bar, and your friends are probably like, oh my gosh, could you please stop it? But that's what can happen when we don't deal with our emotions. And there are a lot of things we can do to deal with it. But one of the things that I want you to remember is that you're a human being and you feel emotions for a reason. And when people, some people are well-meaning. This was my mother. I love her to death. But when I was younger, it would be like, stop, you don't have a reason to cry, quit crying. It's supposed to be helpful, right? Like, get over it. It's fine. You're good. You're going to, her way of thinking was sweep it under the rug, it's going to be fine. But that's not a good way to deal with something. And I know that's just how her parents told her to deal with things. She didn't know any better. But when you suck it up and try to move on, you haven't dealt with anything, and that's just going to come back to you. So my message to you is this. Go ahead and play that song that's going to make you cry your eyes out, and cry your eyes out. You need to get out those emotions. The only thing is to know not to stay in that place for long. But get those emotions out, and then you also need to deal with them. So we talked about forgiveness and how you can forgive the other person, but oftentimes I think we need to forgive ourselves even more than the other person, because for me, when I think about a breakup or something that happened, I often go to that, what could I have done differently? Like, what did I do wrong in that relationship? How could I have made that better? What could I have done? And it's good to do that in a way where it's constructive and you're trying to figure out how to be better for next time. It's not good in a way that you're beating yourself up and you're not learning anything from it, that it's just you being critical for the sake of being critical. That's when it's not positive and it's not good, and you shouldn't stay in that place. But if you can think about, what did I do, or how could I make that better for the sake of learning and doing something differently in your next relationship, because I truly believe that if we want different things to happen for us, we have to behave differently. And if you look at your relationship and say, how did I behave in that relationship? And was that the best way to behave? Was I being myself, or was I just being a people pleaser and letting that person roll over me, and I lost my own identity in that relationship? What was I doing? How did I behave? And this it doesn't have to be romantic relationships. This could be in relationships with people you work with or other family members, but thinking about how I could have made that better. But go ahead and get those emotions out. Cry if you need to. It helps and makes you feel better. And then deal with it. So there are a couple of things you can do. We can do the radical forgiveness, and I'll put a link to that website in this podcast description. I love this because it definitely takes you out of your emotions, and we look at it in a different way, and almost like an objective third-party person, where we're looking at it and saying, okay, what was it that happened? Describe the situation exactly. What occurred? Just the facts. What was my behavior in this? What was the other person's behavior in this? Now look at it as though you made a soul contract to come here and to have this situation play out so that you could learn and grow. What was the lesson? And when you look at it like that, it really helps so much. And it's amazing what happens when you do that. Like I think I've told you that I had 2 different people that I did the radical forgiveness for come back and apologize to me, which I didn't do for the sake of that. I was not ever expecting an apology. They did not know that I did this radical forgiveness, but they came back and asked for forgiveness. And most of the time we go through life and people who hurt us, we never get an I'm sorry for that. But if you can go through and do this for yourself, you're giving yourself the gift of freedom and of being able to let it go and living in peace yourself. And then when you go out with your friends and you have a good time, you're not going to have any of those issues coming up. You can hear the song. And this happened for me. I hear the song and I'm like, yeah, I liked that song. It's great. And it doesn't cause the trigger that it would have before. The truth is that when we experience personal growth, which usually when you're in a situation where you have to forgive people who aren't sorry or who don't know that they've done anything wrong, that's when we experience personal growth. And it's very uncomfortable because usually it meant that we had to go through some kind of situation that really hurt us. And that sucks. It sucks a lot. I'm not going to lie. But it's not for no reason. There's always a purpose in pain, always. And when you think about people who have extraordinary lives, who have done so much and accomplished so much, almost never will you see this person who had the perfect idyllic life that never had to go through anything. That's not, usually the case, because we learn and push ourselves because of the pain, because we had to grow, because we had to go through those situations, and we had to endure things in our lives that weren't necessarily awesome things. And I feel like a lot of people who are light workers definitely had difficult lives, because you would not do things, turn to things, step out of your comfort zone, try new things, if you weren't pushed in that direction. If we led a life where everything was comfy and everything was awesome, you wouldn't learn anything and you wouldn't grow. So when these things are happening to you, try, if you can, to think of it not that it's happening to you, but that it's happening for you, because it's propelling you in some way to be better, to move forward in your spiritual life, or in some way it's causing some kind of change for you. And it's usually always positive, even though it doesn't seem like it at first. It's usually a catalyst to propel you forward. When I go through, I look back and think about major upsets in my life and things that have happened to me, and always it propelled me into something better in one area of my life. This last thing that happened to me led me to my spiritual journey, and is what caused me to look within and to think about how I could make my life better and how I could help others in the process. And I never would have done a podcast. I never would have taken the Reiki classes and be certified to do Reiki and had my website, and I would never have written my book. And the book was actually the first thing I was like, I know I have to do this. I have to write a book. I have to tell others about my story so I can help them, and maybe they don't have to go through the pain that I went through, or to know that they're not alone, that there's somebody else who went through the same thing, and to tell them, look, these are the pitfalls that I definitely went through, and I want you to be able to avoid that and get through this with greater ease and grace, and learn the lessons and move through this with much more speed than I did. It took me, I struggled for a long time, because I just felt like the rug had been pulled out from underneath of me, and I didn't know where to go or what to do, and I just felt like my world was turned upside down. But out of it, I became a much better person, and it definitely propelled me on my spiritual journey. And each thing that's happened to me since then has been a catalyst for me in my life. And so at the time, thinking that this is the worst thing that could happen, looking back, I realized it was the best thing, because I would never be where I am now if those things hadn't happened. And so even though at times I want to curse the people who did the wrong things to me and who, were not so nice to me, in the end, I have to thank them, because they definitely caused me to be introspective, to take a leap of faith that I would not have taken, never would have taken this leap of faith without having been thrown into that situation. So I actually thank them wherever they are for that. They may not know that they were the reason, but they are. And I'm sure our souls made a contract to come here to help me move in that direction. So when you are coming into conflict with people or things or situations, just remember there's a reason for it. There's a purpose for it. And you need to surrender to that. Feel your feelings and get those out. And then begin to heal. You can do the forgiveness, the radical forgiveness. You can pray to Archangel Uriel to help you heal from the things that are causing you pain. And there are prayers out there to Archangel Uriel, and you can look them up. But honestly, I'm a true believer in just praying from the heart. Say what you need to say. Every person is different. You have your own situation. You can get very specific about what it is you need to be healed of. And definitely call on Archangel Uriel and ask him to surround you with his healing light, because we can call on our angels anytime we need them, and they definitely help us. You can call on Archangel Michael to come in and to give you strength and courage to move on. We can also do a cord cutting with Archangel Michael. There's a cord cutting on one of my podcasts. If you go back and search for it, you can definitely do that. It's a meditation. Just do it before you go to bed, or anytime you have time where you can sit or lie down and just be comfortable and go through that meditation. You can go sign up to take my program, A Purposeful Pilgrimage. It's helping a lot of people, and I designed it to help people. It's very similar to a program I did that changed my entire life. So you can check that out as well. My website is in the description notes for the podcast. Consider a Reiki session, because we can definitely heal your emotional stuff through Reiki as well. It's not just about physical pain, it's also about emotional pain. We can do a Reiki session where we can do a cord cutting. There's a lot of things we can do. And you can do those emotional freedom techniques. There's some tapping exercises on my podcast as well, if you go look for that. And you can just do a YouTube search. There are a lot of tappings out there. You can find the one that specifically fits your needs. But whatever you do, move through those emotions and work through that pain and heal yourself, because until you heal it, it's going to keep coming back. It's a lesson for you to get through, that you have to heal. And if you don't, it's not going to go away. It's going to always be there, and it's going to come out in other ways. The universe has creative ways of causing us to face those lessons that we have to learn again and again until we do it. So I would absolutely encourage you to make sure that you're healing from that past stuff. And just remember that if you choose love in all situations, that is the key. Getting rid of fear, getting rid of past hurt and pain, and moving forward in love, knowing that the universe has your back. They're always going to provide for you. Whatever's happening, make sure you take time to stop and ask and pray and ask your angels for help, because they want to help us. Most of us don't call on them until we're in an hour of need, and that's okay. But if you start your day, every day, asking for your angels to be with you, for their guidance, be amazed at how miraculous things show up for you. I hope that you aren't experiencing pain in your life, but know that that is a part of life we all have to deal with. We're all here to learn and grow. But it need not be as uncomfortable and painful as we sometimes make it for ourselves. We can move through things with grace and ease when we choose to face it and move through it and not hold on to it, and we can let it go and keep moving forward in our lives. So whatever it is you need to deal with today, and you know what it is, I truly believe that I am giving this message to somebody who needs to hear it today. Move through that situation. Go back and revisit it. Identify what it is that you needed to learn, how you might move through a similar situation differently in the future, and then forgive that situation and let it go. I truly, truly, truly feel blessed to have the tribe that I have in my lives. You all are amazing, and I'm so thankful to be a part of your life, and I hope that this podcast helps you, because that is the purpose of it. I hope that you are experiencing miracles every day in your life. If you enjoy this podcast, please share it with your friends. Please share it with people who you might know who might need to hear these messages. I continue to be grateful and thankful for all of you. I'm sending you so much love and light. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you again soon.